Aloha, everyone. My name is Theresa Falk. Yes, aloha. I was born in Long Beach, California, but yes, Long Beach. But when I was 10, my family moved to Honolulu, Hawaii. So I grew up as an island girl. So as an island girl, this was my backyard and is my backyard. I grew up surrounded by seawater, known in the Hawaiian language as kai. In the Hawaiian culture, water is considered sacred, symbolizing wealth and life. There are specific names for kinds of water. Vai is the word for fresh water, and vai is the word for wealth. There are dozens of words for different kinds of water and over 200 different words for rain. Water is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It regulates our ecosystem, it shapes our landscape, and sustains our bodies. In many ways, water serves as a global ecosystem leader. It's appropriate then to use water as a metaphor for leadership. Good leadership shapes and sustains. It moves people and ideas forward just as water moves the earth. As an educator and leader, my landscape is the classroom, and for 31 years, my leadership has been the water. I've taught English and Women's Studies at Iolani School in Honolulu to over 3,000 students. And I've learned that while the teacher might be the person at the front of the room, the most powerful work happens in the quiet, steady flow of connection. From the moment I open my homeroom at 7:30 to 3:15 when I'm done giving extra help, my school day is defined by my role as a leader. After 3 decades of teaching, I've made an intentional shift from the traditional top-down patriarchal template of teacher, the sage on the stage, to more fluid forms of leadership, otherwise known as the guide on the side. My teaching consists of nudges rather than pushes, not waves crashing onto rocks, but currents flowing around those rocks, shaping them as they go. I've learned that the classroom is a living microcosm of our society. Each classroom contains students across gender spectrums, social classes, ethnic identities, and importantly, distinct learning and processing styles. Each classroom gives birth to leaders, but they often tend to be the same type of learner and thinker: extroverted, neurotypical, and male. So here's my point. Our traditional patriarchal framework of leadership has its roots in our education system. Our society grows leaders from the moment they enter a classroom, from the arrangement of chairs in a circle as opposed to strict rows, to the dependence on raised hands and vocal assertiveness as signs of engagement. We establish definitions of leadership for our children starting from an extremely young age. Travel with me to my classroom for a moment. It's period 3, and we're discussing To Kill a Mockingbird. Remember To Kill a Mockingbird? Yeah. I ask my students a question. What do you think of Atticus Finch as a parent? What often follows is at least 15 seconds of nervous silence. Most students furtively looking down at their desks, hoping that I don't call on them, even though I've made it clear that they can participate without doing so. Out of the corner of my eye, I spy Gwen. Gwen has something to say. I can tell from the way her eyes are widening. She's thinking really deeply. Her right hand flickers upward just an inch, but before she can fully raise her hand, outgoing, confident Taylor jumps in with an answer. And Gwen's hand drops to her desk along with her confidence. But there are more students in this classroom. This is Daniel, who's dyslexic. He's squinting at his copy of Mockingbird in a panic, trying to decode the words. He listened to the audiobook last night, but while he's in class, he feels pressure to use his hard copy. And then this is Leo. He has ADHD. He's scratching at a spot on his desk, and he has no idea what page we're on. And then there's Gwen again. She feels defeated after not being able to speak up in time, so she has given up and started her math homework. See, each of these brilliant students, and they're all brilliant, has an ocean of ideas, but they won't get to share them unless I, as their teacher and leader, make it happen. And if I don't, if I only acknowledge and honor students like Wavemaker Taylor, I am literally drowning potential. And what's more, the Gwens and the Daniels and Leos aren't just students in my classroom. They are the future innovators and leaders of our society. I'm sure there are Gwens and Leos and Daniels in our audience today. So when Gwen graduates, she'll likely enter a workforce that mirrors her educational existence and prioritizes extroverts. Recent Harvard Business School research shows that supervisors are significantly more likely to perceive extroverts as more passionate and high potential than introverts, even when their performance is equal. This means that Gwen will encounter more obstacles to leadership than her outgoing friend Taylor, and this doesn't even take into account factors of gender and race. It's safe to say that the preference for extroversion is not just a social bias. It is an active form of marginalization. And one of the ways to combat this marginalization is to lead like water. Water is, by its very nature, pliable and flexible. It takes the shape of what contains it, but don't mistake its pliability for weakness. Water's power doesn't always lie in short-term bursts, but often in slow, patient persistence. Crashing waves are magnificent and awe-inspiring in the moment. I live in Hawaii, I know. But they can also do significant damage. Just because we as leaders possess power does not mean that we should be doling out in potentially traumatic bursts. And do those waves necessarily create the lasting and sustainable change that we as leaders are looking for? A wave might work in the moment, but is the damage to those we lead worth that supposed progress? Do we want the people that we lead to wipe out on a regular basis? Currents, on the other hand, although much less flashy, hold the promise of progress. To lead like water means to follow those currents, to slow down, to notice, to be patient, and to listen. When I have students engage in literature discussions, there are different formats I employ. Sometimes they'll work in pairs, sometimes they'll sit in small groups, and yes, sometimes we do full class discussions. But regardless of what format I use, I always provide students with the option to remain quiet and share their thoughts in alternate ways. They can write down their thoughts and turn it in on a document. They can leave me a voice recording on Canvas, or my favorite, come and see me after school and have a chat and tell me what they think of Atticus. When I ask a question in discussion, the moments of silence can be terrifying for students. Do you remember this? I remember this. That silence can also be nerve-wracking for me as their teacher, because in my head, I'm asking myself a ton of questions. Did I give them too much to read? Did I not explain the assignment clearly enough? Like, how am I going to shift this moment? But over the years, I've come to understand that these moments of silence, these intentional moments of slowing down, provide rich and important learning. I honestly get way too excited about them. It annoys my students. I always go, yes, thinking time. This is when all your ideas are born. Among the Hawaiian words for water is the term kanawai. So once again, vai means water. The word actually means law, and its origins refer to the equal sharing of water, which of course is the source of all life. It's yet again another perfect metaphor for leadership, because leading like water requires a sense of shared responsibility and power. If you're a good leader, you know you're in it for the long game. You hopefully see growth in the time with the people that you lead, but you also understand that the bigger gains will come over time. Shaping 1 inch of rock with water can take from decades to thousands of years. The water never sees its own work. And as a teacher, it's the same way. I have been lucky enough to know a few of my students throughout their journey to adulthood, but for most of them, I can only trust that my work has done some kind of work and made some kind of difference. In other words, I'm in it for the long game. In order for us to build a future where leadership is inclusive and fair, we need to actively foster leaders that we'd be proud to follow. We need to lead like water. Just as the rain falls to the earth, flows to the sea, and then rejoins the clouds, effective leadership is a give and take, a slow, sacred, intentional cycle that never ends. And today, together at the Slowdown Summit, we're going to start a new current. I'd like to close with Olelo No'eau, a traditional Hawaiian proverb. It conveys the idea that water is the essential catalyst for life and growth. Just as water nurtures and sustains the blossoming flowers, it sustains us as people. Mohala I kawai, kamaka o kapua. Unfolded by the water are the faces of the flowers. Mahalo nui.